And welcome back, gang. It's Deltia from Deltiasgaming.com, back with a frag out build, a staple in Elder Scrolls Online PvP Magsorc. What better class and what better way than screaming frag out, shooting a frag at range, and that's exactly what the Magic Sorcerer can do. This thing has been consistently great over all Elder Scrolls Online patches. And considering that the gear is quite easy to get, you can play it a variety of different ways at a very high level, and you can be effective whether it's solo, dueling, battleground, Cyrodiil, whatever. The Magsorc remains one of the top PvP classes of all time in Elder Scrolls Online, and it's still really good in the Waking Flames DLC. This is my take on it, my build frag out, and I'm going to walk you through everything that I use and give you some ideas of how you can take this and use it in PvP to be successful as well. So the question is, should you play this build? What would make you play a Magic Sorcerer versus something else? Well, plain and simply, the Magic Sorcerer is very simple, and it's been simple day one and has almost the identical playstyle from when ESO launched to now. The offensive rotation is not very complex and is easy to pull off, plus it has a lot of range, which is nice for players that like to hang back and nuke people, your typical wizard in any other game. It's extremely mobile, having one of the coolest abilities in the game, Streak, Bolt Escape, whatever morph you take. It's just awesome. And it's been consistently great over all ESO patches, and I can't stress that enough. It's not like a Stam Dragonite in PvE, where sometimes it's on the top of the meta and it's on the bottom of the heap. You never know. With a Magsorc, you're always going to be up there. The cons are, it's extremely high skill cap to maximize potential, and I haven't hit that yet either. It's very hard to get absolutely the most out of this build, primarily because if you don't cast your shields and you bar swap frequently, you're going to die. So for average or new players, I would definitely not pick this up. I'd start with something like a Templar and work my way towards this because it's going to require a lot of bar swaps, a lot of advanced things to get the most out of this character. But if you're able to do bar swaps quickly, keep your shields up and your buffs up, this thing is an absolute home run. So the first thing we're going to cover is gear and the weapon choices that I use. I'm using a Restoration Staff on my back bar for survivability and a Fire Staff on my front bar. The Fire Staff is your single target damage, and the Sorcerer, specifically this build, is really focused on single target pressure and making the Fire Staff a no-brainer to equip. On a back bar, I go with Restoration Staff for a lot of different reasons. One, the ultimate is absolutely incredible. Two, a heal over time with the short duration is, well, absolutely incredible and frees up a bar slot, allowing me not to have to use two shields. And then lastly, the Restoration Staff's passives, giving major mending after a fully charged heavy attack and extra resource sustain, makes it really fantastic on a Magic Sorcerer. So with the Fire Restoration Staff combination, our goal here with this build is to get a lot of max stats. Reason being is the Sorcerer is primarily going to survive using shields that scale off your max magic. So it makes sense to stack a lot of max magic, get our shield very high so we can use that as our primary survivability tool. We're actually going to build our stamina very high as well, because we can trade stamina for magic, and essentially you have an infinite sustain loop using stamina for magic and using magic for big shields and survival. Really, the way you die with this build is being out of position, not streaking away, and also running out of gas if you can run out of stamina and or magic. So you want that huge, healthy stamina pool for extra dodge rolls, break free, in combination with streaks. And I'm telling you, it's a nasty combo if you have your max stats very high. So with that being said, the main staple 5-piece we're going to keep on our body is Crafted Alfix. This comes from Overland Elsewhere. It's just going to give us a massive amount of max magic, and we're going to keep it on our body at all times. This is just going to give us the best benefit we can for a 5-piece. You're going to want to use infused traits on the big pieces with prismatic enchants to get the most value, the most bang for your buck in stats. You're also going to want to run a 5-1-1 setup, 5 light, 1 heavy, 1 medium to get the most stats possible. And speaking of most stats possible, we're going to go with the shoulder 1-piece Damahos. You can get this from Falkreath Hold or the Undaunted Pledge keys to get the shoulder. The Dominhos is going to be the one piece we're going to go with on our shoulder. It's going to give us a ton of max stats for a one piece, max stamina and max magic. I err over this like something like spell damage or solely max magic or recovery because the extra stamina is going to play into our infinite resource loop. That leaves the head, which is going to be Gaze of Sithis. This is a mythic obtained in Blackwood. It's kind of annoying to get a hold of, but for a one piece, it just offers you too much to pass up. Massive max magic, health recovery, tons of armor, but you're not going to get any benefit from block. One thing to know, you can still block, and so if someone hits a meteor on you, you can still block it to avoid the CC. You're just not going to get any mitigation. While playing a Magic Sorcerer, we're allowing our shields and our movement to provide survivability rather than just holding block like a Templar hitting Breath of Life. So that's 2 5 pieces, 1 shoulder, 1 helm, giving us a ton of max stats. So let's just keep the party rolling, and let's go with Ancient Grace as the other 3 piece. Ancient Grace 3 piece is going to be from Seardale Cropsford PvP vendor, and it's going to give us just a ton of max magic for a 3 piece and is better than something like Willpower. So we're going to keep that on our bar, and you can use all spell damage with arcane traits if you want, or 1 or more magic recovery depending on your skill level. Then that leaves the weapons, and you see a theme here, more max stats, so we're going to go with the Armor of Trainee. This is from the starter zones and can be bought on the traders. With this setup, I'm right around 45,000 max magic, 29,000 health, and 21,000 stamina if I'm using the Sugar Skulls food, giving me a ton of max stats, allowing me to hit hard, survive, have tons of movement. I can dodge roll, I can CC break. Plus, besides Gaze of Sithis, this gear set's really easy to obtain. If you don't have Gaze of Sithis, you don't like the mythics, I would go with Engine Guardian. The Engine Guardian is going to give you resource sustain, but it's also just going to be a nice decoy for you. So people will hit it, they'll get in your way, you'll streak away, your little droid will come follow you, and just be an annoyance. So that's what I would swap in here if you don't have Gaze of Sithis. So we're going to talk about the skill bars. We're going to go with our front bar, Fire Staff, for damage. Streak is our first ability. This is core to the Magic Sorcerer, and I can't explain this enough. It's used both defensively and offensively. The strength of Streak is it can stun opponents that are blocking or trying to get away, so they can't avoid it. If you streak in front of them or on them, on top of them, they'll drop their block. It's one of the most powerful stuns because it's unavoidable if you hit them properly with it. Also, you can streak away and, well, get away as well, though it's going to start costing more and more magic if you do it in a small window of time. And how you use it offensively and defensively really determines how good you are as a Magic Sorcerer. You're primarily going to use this to kind of streak in and out and so forth. But when you get better, what you're going to do is load up an opponent, specifically with Haunting Curse, we'll talk about a little bit later, and you're going to kind of pepper them, set them up, wait for the circle around their feet to be gone so that you know that you can stun them on demand when you want to. Right as your curse is about to go off, you're going to streak through them. That way they can't block, dodge, or try to heal up. Your curse goes off, you turn around, hit them with the Force Pulse or a Crushing Shock and a frag, and see you later. So you're going to want to get practice at using Streak offensively. This is what's going to separate you from the average Sorc to really, really good. Next ability up is Crystal Fragment. So we're going to talk about 2 abilities. Crystal Fragments comes from the Magic Sorcerer's class kit. And the strength of this is it hits really hard once you proc. If you've been playing TheElderScrollsOnline, you've heard this before, but you'll have some randomness until you get a frag proc, making it hit harder and cost less. And it'll be insta-cast, which is very nice as well. Plus, if you hit a Crystal Frags, it's actually going to heal you via the Dark Magic passive. So how you're going to basically keep this proc is, yes, any kind of magic effect, any kind of magic cast can proc this. So you can streak and get it, you can use Haunting Curse, but your main spammable Crushing Shock or Force Pulse, whichever morph you're going to go with. This is going to be from the Destruction Staff skill line. I prefer Crushing Shock because it's a range interrupt. It's a great spammable, and you'd be surprised at how many people it sets off balance or knocks off their feet when they're trying to cast something. So you're going to kind of weave this and you're going to hear a sound along with your hands change color. But the most noticeable way to know when you have a Crystal Frags proc is your bar lights up a different color. So typically you're only going to fire off Crystal Frags at this time due to the instance of the ability being able to fire off and how it hits hard, along with the reduction in cost. Also, once you have a frag proc, you don't necessarily need to fire it off right away. This is what comes with some experience in playing this build. So for instance, if I'm fighting someone solo and they're kind of defensive, they're hanging out and they're not able to be stunned, what I'll do is try to get a crystal frag proc up. I'll wait till that circle around their feet is, no longer there and I know I can stun them. Now if I have a crystal frag ready to go, I'll streak through them, turn around, hit a frag right away as they're breaking free so they can't dodge or avoid it. So a lot of skill that you can implement using crystal frags and streak as a combo. Speaking of combo, Haunting Curse. This is going to curse an enemy, and it's going to deal damage to them up front, and then a little bit later. So consider Haunting Curse kind of like your first initial ability you cast on someone. You're going to curse them, and then start working in the Crushing Shock Crystal Frag Weave. Again, we talked about a little bit earlier in terms of combination, but the Haunting Curse setup is really setting them up with a Haunting Curse, getting a Crystal Frags proc ready, and then just waiting till that last little moment right before the Haunting Curse is going to pop. You're looking at their debuffs, you streak through them, boom, they're stunned, Haunting Curse goes off, you turn around, shoot out a frag, and then a finisher to close the deal. It's so much damage in a small window. Plus, if you time it right, almost all of it will be unavoidable and they will be hard to counter it. And speaking of our Execute, Mage's Wrath is what I take. Execute below 20% health. The downside of Mage's Wrath is it's 20% health or below, so that way you don't have it like 25% like Impale and a Magic Nightblade. But the plus is you can pre-cast this, and it has 4 seconds until it explodes. So going back to our combo, you can essentially cast this right before Haunting Curse goes off because if they dip down below 20%, it's going to blow up immediately and hit them really hard. So you can add another layer of complexity into this combo. Haunting Curse, set them up, wait for a Crystal Frag to be ready to proc, then you cast a Mage's Fury, streak through them. Bang, Haunting Curse blows up, you turn around, shoot out a frag, they drop below 20, Mage's Wrath goes off, and if you do it all within the right amount of time, they will instantly die with no counterplay. So as you can see, this combo is somewhat hard to get a hold of in 1 second. You can actually add, yes, another layer of complexity onto it with Shooting Star. This is the Mage's Guild Ultimate. It's an incredible setup that you can do with the Curse, Mage's Wrath, have a frag ready to go, and then do the same stun with Streak. The thing about Shooting Star is you cast it, it's not instant. It takes a second or so to actually land on the target, making it perfect to pair with Streak. So you cast a Shooting Star right as Haunting Curse is about to explode. You streak through your target, so it drops their block, stuns them, and then hits that Shooting Star right on top of them. There's nothing they can do about it. Turn around, throw a frag out, Mage's Wrath, boom, it's done. So that's the combo bar on the front, offensive. In the back bar is Restoration Staff. You'll notice on my front bar, I do not keep a shield. So you can flex this in and out to be safe. And if you're a new player and this looks exciting to you, I would double bar a shield. It sounds silly, sounds redundant, but it's better than dying, especially if you struggle with the shield. I would actually double bar one. So if I were you, I'd drop Mage's Wrath for an extra shield and put it in the exact same spot on both bars if you struggle with survivability. So my bar setup working left to right is number 1, Critical Surge. It's going to give us our spell power buff, and it's just going to do us a lot of healing when we're doing crit damage. So we don't have very high crit, but just consistently doing crits over time with our Crushing Shock Weave, you'll notice a lot of healing. So we're going to use predominantly our shield to defend ourselves, along with Crit Surge to do a little bit of passive healing, so we don't have to take our foot off the gas, making us very aggressive playstyle with this specific ability. Boundless Storm is up next. It's going to do shock damage around us. It has a little bit of mobility and resistance is built in, and it's a must to keep up at all times along with Crit Surge. It's just going to make you a lot more tanky, fast, and if people are nearby you, it's going to do shock damage. Now, the shield choice I go with is Empowered Ward over Hardened Ward. So the reason I use Empowered Ward, it's going to give you less of a shield, 10% less of a max cap shield, but it's going to give you Resource Sustain. So it's going to grant minor intellect to you and nearby allies, increasing your magic recovery by 15% for 10 seconds. Combine this with a tripod that gives me major intellect as well. I'm almost at 2400 magic recovery and very hard to run out of gas. So consider using the other morph, Hardened Ward, if you want a bigger shield and you struggle with pressure. But what I found is if I get the bigger shield or I use a second shield, I would have to spend more global cooldowns casting the shields and actually putting my health back up. So I went with Hardened Ward, maintain critical surge, and a strong heal over time. Also, another advantage of Hardened Ward is it lasts longer. It lasts 10 seconds instead of 6, making it very nice for a new player because you can cast this before you go into combat. Also, you can keep this up at 100% time just while you're roaming around Cyrodiil or Battlegrounds, because if a ganker hits you with your shield up, you're much less likely to die because you can break free and react to it. So you're going to get more sustain, but you're going to have less of a shield. You're going to have more duration, but you're going to have less of a shield. So you just need to make the decision. Do you need a bigger shield or you need those two other things? Next ability up is Rapid Regeneration from Restoration Staff. It's just an incredible burst heal over time. Think of it like Resolving Vigor, but you can cast it on you and an ally as well. So with my shield and Rapid Regeneration, I don't really need another burst heal because those two things will keep me up very, very well. Not to mention, if I have Boundless Storm up and a melee's chasing me with Crit Surge up, I'm going to be getting some crit heals here and there too, making my health come back pretty easily, allowing me to spam Empower and Ward if I need to. Last ability up is Dark Convergence. So this is going to be our infinite sustain loop with a burst heal to boot. It's going to cost stamina, but it's going to give us back magic. So it'll only cost about 2,000 stamina, and it's going to give us a ton of magic instantly and some more over 20 seconds. So what I do is, once I'm getting around 15% max magic, I kind of line of sight, and I just cast this thing over and over and over. The key on your magic sorcerer to survive, obviously, is using shields, but another not obvious thing is to do a lot of dodge rolls because you have such a generous stamina pool, especially if you go with the dumber race like I do. You're always going to want to leave right around 5,000 to 6,000 stamina left in the tank. This should be enough to dodge and or break free. If you're getting around 5,000 or so, you need to rely primarily on just spamming Empowering Ward and Rapid Regeneration for survival. Do not dodge because you need that to break free. If you go below that, someone stuns you, you're just dead. So I keep my eye on my stamina pool and make sure it doesn't dip below that. But in general, it's usually right around 10,000 or higher, making it very easy. And as soon as the tripod's up, I pop that, getting it back up to full again. And then I just rotate around, channeling my stamina for infinite Magicka. And that's how you sustain with this build. Now, if I'm really in pressure and I'm taking a lot of damage, which I usually do, is I'll go Life Giver from the Restoration Staff as my ultimate. It's a burst heal, it's survivable, it's mobile, it's good solo, and it's good in a group with great utility. Though you can flex something in and out depending on what you like. Temporal Guard in your back bar from the Psijic Order gives us 5% damage reduction, making us very super tanky. I don't actually like that because I prefer using Life Giver, the ultimate. Also, you can flex in Suppression Field. This is Negate. It's a great group utility. So if you're playing with big groups and you need a negate, I would put it back on this back bar because Shooting Star is really hard to give up. And that's the skills. So let's go talk about the miscellaneous things. First miscellaneous item up is, what race would I pick and why? The number one race I would pick for this is typically a high elf, but no. I went with the Dunmer. The Dunmer gives you max magic and max stamina, which is quite useful for the very specific way I set this up. Plus, if you pick the Dunmer race, you can swap between magic and stamina and not be penalized. So I prefer a Dunmer on this. Some other ones, High Elf, Khajiit, Breton. There's a lot of good choices, so I wouldn't overthink the race choice, but when in doubt, I would pick a Dunmer because that extra stamina comes in very handy on this build. For Mundus Stone, I go with the Mage, increasing our max magic. Reason being is, we want more max magic if that's not obvious already, so I prefer this over something like spell damage or more recovery, bigger magic, bigger shields, more survivable. Attribute points. With Gaze of Sithis, I don't put anything into health. This is the lowest health character to typically run because I have so much max magic and I'm able to maintain my shields. So I'm at 29,000 health inside of Cyrodiil fully buffed, but I would go all max magic because it scales directly to our shields. Consumables, I would use the Bewitched Sugar Skulls. It's going to increase our max stats across the board since we're going to rely on recovery from fully charged restos and or using some other things like tripods and so forth. So getting that extra stamina will really help you survive as well. Then for potions, I go with tripods. You're going to have to get that stamina back, especially if you're using that infinite loop frequently. And I do keep immovables and stealth attack on me just if there's annoying Nightblades around. For the champion points in the fitness tree, I go with Sustained by Suffering, Expert Evasions, Pain's Refuge, and Bastion. For the warfare, I go with Duelist Rebuff, Master at Arms, Ironclad, Deadly Aim. For craft, I go with Treasure Hunter, Rationer, Liquid Efficiency, and Steed's Blessing. And this is the Magsorc Porky, one of the fastest, hardest hitting, and just most consistent playstyles in Elder Scrolls Online PvP. I don't know why, but it seems like you have to jump religiously while you're playing a Magsorc. It just adds DPS. Maybe that's just a random fun fact, but I just love hopping around on my Magsorc. Having range for once and not playing melee is so nice. Using streak and using the combo to really set up a target is very rewarding if you can pull it off and get consistent with it. Plus, as you play it longer and longer, you will increase with survivability, maintain that shield a lot easier, and provide great group utility if you use it in the game. I appreciate everyone watching. Consider becoming a Patreon so I can continue to crank these out. Also, follow me on Twitter at Deltiasgaming1. And if you want to see me actually play these builds and see if they work, come over and check me out on twitch.tv/Deltiasgaming. Thanks for watching.